Mohammed?
So we can think about bodies of water. So we have a sea. What other bodies of water do we have?
Peninsula.
No, peninsula's land.
Oh.
Rivers?
Oh.
Yeah.
I was about to start saying the Caribbean.
Okay. So yeah, so we have rivers, lakes, seas, and oceans. All right. So the question starts to become, how big is that body of water? Now the ocean is so fantastic, man. I think I was telling you guys I started surfing recently, and I've never seen so many fish and stingrays. Like, I've stepped on more stingrays and more jellyfish in the past few weeks than in my whole entire life combined together, which isn't saying a lot, because I've never stepped on one before. But all of a sudden, I'm stepping on a bunch. Like, every time I go out, I'll step on 2 or 3 or 4. I keep wondering, at what point am I going to get stung finally? And you know what you're supposed to do if someone gets stung by a jellyfish?
Suck it?
They pee on you.
Pee on it, or suck it. Now, here's the
I'm
thing.
being serious.
Neither of those two things work, by the way. Those are just, no, it doesn't work. But if your friend does get stung on the foot by a jellyfish, you should pee on it. What? Just because afterwards you can tell I pissed on you, bro.
It's just going to make the stinging more worse.
It does. It just makes it worse.
How do you know it doesn't work?
So what the hell do you do?
Because I read.
Doctor.
He tried it on
Yeah,
himself.
I have a PhD. That'd make a visual. No, because the poison that goes in you, it's counteracted by vinegar. So in your pee, it's acidic. Vinegar is not acidic, same pH levels. So if something's overly acidic, like you might as well just pour I don't know, like soda on it or something. I guess if I pee on you, it is like you pouring soda on you. That's all I drink. This conversation's taking a turn, isn't it?
I apologize.
Yeah. Go watch the other videos. I talk about peeing. Second period, I talk about peeing on a wetsuit. I talk about us all sitting in a pool together peeing. Sorry, a bathtub, then a pool, and then the ocean. But what I was getting at with regards to, and then if you suck on it, you might get the poison out. But the problem, so you won't get the venom out. But that would be a good thing if someone stings your foot. I'm sorry, a jellyfish stings your foot. I'll apologize in advance. I haven't been to sleep yet, not since Monday. So. I have no idea what's going to come out right now. So if like a jellyfish stings your foot, you can ask your friend, quick, suck on it. And then it won't do anything except for humiliate them because they're sucking on your foot and say, oh, loser, which might take some of the pain away. Anyway, as I walk through the ocean now, I don't just like look out here. Because normally when I go to the beach, I'll look out here and just, oh, it's so pretty. But now I don't just look out there because I'm looking at the water. I'm looking at the ocean. I'm trying to get a sense of the energy that's moving through the waves. And now I look kind of like here or down. And as soon as I start looking down, man, I notice a lot of fish. There's stingrays that are constantly swimming around you. There's like little schools of fish, but you don't feel them because they don't bump into you because they can feel the energy from you moving through the water, and it causes them to swim away. I've never really realized there was so much going on there. There's like little fish that jump out, in front of you, and sometimes you might have just thought it was like a little splash of something, but no, it's like little fish that would jump out of the water in front of you. The other day we were out there, we saw a seal going by, not the Navy SEAL. I see dolphins out there from time to time, swimming, and so it's the ocean is used oftentimes as a metaphor for your consciousness. Think about whatever is above the ocean, above the water. That's what's happening in your consciousness, the stuff that's clear to you, the stuff that you're aware of. You can see everything. Once in a while, something will pop up, but for the most part, you have a good view of what's going on in your mind. And then as soon as you get underneath the water, imagine if you could go under the water and see clearly without sand or salt or anything obscuring your vision. Can you possibly imagine all the life that you see down there? It blows me away now because when I first got to San Diego, I was sitting out in the ocean, and little baby sharks were swimming around me, but just little tiny ones, not deep enough for the mother shark to come in, but deep enough for the little baby sharks. And don't sing it, man. And then when you start to realize, like, I was just paying attention at that point. Like, how often have you kind of gone past these things and never really noticed? And that's a metaphor for your unconscious, the subconscious, what happens underneath the water. All this activity, that's where all the interesting stuff in the ocean happens. But it's also where the monsters lurk. The sharks, the whales, the things that can harm you. So you can think of the ocean this way as well. as a metaphor for your mind. You have the conscious and then the unconscious, or subconscious. Things are happening down below there. So we have a few different sizes of bodies of water here. We have rivers. That's true. What do you refer to here as stream? Yeah. So we have a stream here, which is not as powerful as a river. And then in terms of like resting bodies, we have lakes, seas, and oceans, and they're varying degrees of size. So now, if you start to think about being a sea, because you must be a sea. He's talking here about you, I guess. And so, if I ask you, like, who are or what composes you? What are you made up of? Like, if I say like the you, like what goes into that? If this makes sense.
My mind.
What's that?
My mind.
Your what?
My mind.
Your mind, yes. So now, what goes into your mind?
My thoughts.
So your thoughts happen in your mind. Well, what goes in? What I guess maybe influences those thoughts?
The things around me.
Yeah. Like what?
People.
Okay. So, people. Are they good influences or bad influences?
Can they be both?
A little bit of both.
Yeah, but the bad influences are so much more fun. So these would be like people. And those would be your bad influences. And of course you have the absolutely people. Those are your good influences, the red and the blue. And how many more of these you have is entirely up to you. Now, how much of an influence are these people in your life? Well, that's going to determine whether it's a stream or if it's a river. In other words, how much of that experience is flooding into you, that's creating you, it's influencing you. That's, again, generating the you, your mind. So think about other things that would influence that. For red or blue, I'll do them in greens just so that we're not sure which of them they are. I don't know, music. I don't know.
Sports.
Was it?
Sports.
Sports. Anything that it is that you're encountering. Media, talk about whatever TV shows you're watching. I'll tell you a funny story about this afterwards. I tell it in the second period. Music, sports. Now, how big of an influence these things are? Is it going to be a river? Is it going to be a stream? You know, in other words, how much of an influence are you allowing it to have in your life? But I would suggest to you that it's a lot like the ocean. Unless we're really, really conscious of how much of this is influencing us, we just don't have an idea of it. In other words, music could be having an enormous influence on you, and you just don't realize it. Your friends, the people around you, family, friends, media, they could be having enormous influences on us. But unless we're cognizant of it, unless we're paying attention to it, we just don't know how much of an influence it's having. Our impulse might be to say, it doesn't really influence me very much. But let's just think about it for a second. Where did you learn how to talk?
School.
School? You didn't talk before school? Home? From your house? Your house talks?
Oh, wait, no.
Yeah, parents, family, friends, yeah, people around us. So we intuitively understand that that's where we learn how to talk. We imitate other people. How do we learn how to walk? How does it even occur to us that that's a possibility? We see people walk, and so we imitate that. Whatever the thing is that we see, that we're encountering, we imitate that, and then that becomes either a stream or a river or a trill, whatever it is. However much of an influence we let it have over us. So we should be aware that that's how it is that our mind is composed. Especially in our first few years of life, we encounter things and then we incorporate them into our personalities by imitation. Now, as we get older, we still do this, but there's this almost like there's almost like this arrogant tendency in us to think like, I think for myself, nothing influences me. I don't know, man. I don't know. Have you noticed that a lot of times when there are like groups of friends, that they kind of dress similarly? And there's a reason for this. I know people, if you look at them in the group, they'll say, oh no, that's completely different. I have a gray sweater, his is red. But you're both wearing similar kinds of things, different colors maybe, but by and large, very similar things. And that makes sense because you probably listen to similar music, you probably are influenced by similar media, and then that's the outward expression of the thing that you're experiencing in your mind. So now, how big of this do you have to be as an individual? How strong does your mind have to be before these things start to influence you, and specifically unduly? In other words, you don't want them to, but they do. Or to be bad influences on you. And by bad, I'll leave that to you to figure out what that exactly means, because I don't exactly know what that means myself. If something is a bad influence on you or a good influence on you. So maybe something is bad, people think of it as bad, but it gives you an interesting experience, and so because of that, maybe it was something good because it opens your mind to, opens your mind to possibilities or opportunities. I'm trying to think of one stupid example. I don't know. You deal drugs, and this is bad, but maybe you stop, but now you learn some business skills from it. I don't know, you know? And that's what causes you to go to business school. I don't know. Something to that effect. But he's saying you have to be in a huge body of water in order to receive even a polluted stream without becoming impure. I don't think I know a better way to describe this, so I'll just use the pee analogy. If all of us are hanging out together in a bathtub, we all squeeze into a bathtub together, and then you guys, I look up and I'm just kind of smiling and you're like, oh,
Ew.
what's so funny, Scoundrel? Yeah, what did I do? You know the smile. What did I do? I peed in the water. Now, if we're all in the bathtub together and I look, I go, I peed in the water. What are you all going to do? What you should have done in the first place, by the way.
Get out.
Get out, yeah. Everyone's going to jump out of the bathtub. That's disgusting. What, grosser than us all being in the bathtub together? Now, instead, let's say that we're standing in a pool. And we're hanging out. And I get that same smile on my face. And we all know what that means. I just peed again. What's your reaction to that? Get out of the pool? What's your, yeah, cannonball, splash it. Or maybe swim to the other side of the pool and get away from it. Like, oh, what the hell's wrong with you? We kind of swim away. Eventually we probably get back into it. Now let's say that we're standing in the ocean, and same thing, I tell you, we're all hanging out there, and I tell you I peed. Now, are you trying to get to the other side of the ocean? Are you now getting out of the ocean? Fuck, I'm going to Hawaii. Probably not. Probably not, because the waves are coming through. It's, you know, there's plenty of salt in there. It's going to clean itself. We're probably not nearly as concerned about the pee in the ocean as we are about the pee in the bathtub. Why? Well, because it's the size of the body of water. How powerful is your mind? How powerful are you as an individual, such that you can receive negative influences without becoming impure? I guess what I'm asking you is, what's the pee in your life that's contaminating the body of water, which is your mind? Because there's no doubt that the things that we do are based off of the things that we hear. And then, in other words, the information that we have. So if the information that we have is influenced by negativity, of course, that's what we're going to be responding to. So I guess it's the question of which is it that we should be filling our lives with, the negative influences or the positive influences. The problem is that these are usually way more fun than the positive influences, for a while, for a while. But is it going to contaminate you? In other words, you're going to start to reflect this. And which one would you rather reflect? More of this or more of this? And you'll hear us kind of like negotiate with it. Well, you know, a little bit of this is going to be fine. How much of it before you're polluted? The question and the answer is that I don't know. I have no idea how much of it you have to take in to be impure, because everyone's different. Some people are really easily influenced. Some people are really easily influenced and they don't even realize it, which means they're extremely easily influenced. Some people can resist it. Some people have that strong mind. Anybody here like basketball? Professional basketball? Oh, okay. Well, I'm going to ask you anyway. Anybody here ever hear of Rick Barry, by any chance? Rick Barry is a basketball player. I bet you knew that was going to be the case, huh?
Yeah.
Excited to ask you about it. Rick Barry is one of the highest scorers in NBA history. He's in the top 5, I think, top 3 or top 5 for free throws. You know, you stand at the line and you get free throws after someone fouls you. And the neat thing about Rick Barry is that he plays basketball. I'm sorry, he does his free throws like this, granny style. Exactly. And now imagine you're out there, you're in an NBA game, and you see this guy, and playing hard. He gets up the free throw line. And it's funny, and people would laugh at him all the time. And yet I think he's like third highest free throw percentage in the history of the NBA. Why? Because this works for him. And he argues that this should work for everybody. But people won't try this. In fact, he actually said that he coached Shaquille O'Neal, which Shaquille O'Neal has one of the lowest free throw percentages in the history of the NBA. And he said that he got Shaquille O'Neal's free throw percentage up by almost 30% just by doing this in practice. And yet O'Neal never did this in a game. Why? O'Neal said that he would rather miss the shots than get laughed at. Rick Barry does not give a shit about being laughed at. In fact, he was asked to write an autobiography, and he didn't want to write it. So he went to people who people who knew him while he was growing up, and asked them all, hey, write a chapter about me. Talk about some experiences you've had with me, whatever. And almost every chapter talks about him being a complete asshole. Apparently he's really hard to get along with. People just don't like him. One of the chapters was written by his mom, and she wrote that her son is an asshole and she can't get along with him. And Rick Barry's answer to that is, well, everyone's got their views, I suppose. It isn't like, whatever, if you can't handle me at my worst, you don't deserve me at my best. He doesn't get up there and say, whatever, they're just haters. He just kind of shrugs his shoulders and says, everyone's got their view. That's fine. It doesn't bother him one bit. He's not trying to cover it up and pretend like it doesn't bother him. It really, genuinely, 100% does not bother him. He's a rare personality. This is a person who can take in quite a bit, probably, without becoming impure. But he's a really rare personality. He's really high in disagreeableness. I'm sorry, really high in disagreeableness. So he's low in agreeableness. Anybody ever take that Big 5 personality test I told you about? Oh, too bad, you should. Because it measures that. It measures your agreeableness and your disagreeableness. And so, this is a person who can receive quite a bit without becoming impure. But again, a really rare personality type. If you can do that, then that means it's going to be more of you. I'm just curious, man. I want to see if that works. No?
The next way.
Too bad, because the video can't see it. We should have just been like, oh, he made it! Well, the problem is your technique. You should have. And by the way, there is somebody in the NBA right now. I don't know his name. I want to say he's from Africa.
Oh! He made it.
Who does his free throws like this, and he has a very high percentage. Yeah. But anyway, understand that there is going to be there's a trade-off there. So you can be a really strong-minded person and not receive any influences, and be heavily influenced by it. However, what that also means is that you're very difficult to get along with, and you're not going to you're going to be your own person, and people have a difficult time relating to people who are 100% their own person. Nietzsche is exactly that kind of personality, by the way. So here he's talking specifically in this context about actions, about moral actions, and the people that we surround ourselves with. And so he's saying, be careful who we surround ourselves with. Surround ourselves with people who are going to be this. Because these are, and by the way, a lot of times you might think that they're this, but it turns out that they're this. How do you know? I guess it's wisdom. I guess it's experience. I guess it's time. I don't know. But you have to be a C to receive even just a little bit without becoming impure yourself. The question just becomes, how impure are you willing to be? I guess I'm asking you, what is the P that's in your life?